Is this it? Yes, it is it. It certainly is it. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I decided to do the class on a common herb, or sometimes we call them weeds, but this is a plant that grows in almost every continent and is very prolific and super helpful. So I felt like it was an important time to talk about it because if you look up mugwort, which is, if you look up mugwort in the Google it, you might actually first run into websites that talk about how to get rid of it. So it's like farmers talking about how to get rid of this invasive weed, right? So if the difference between the weed and a flower is really our judgment on it. So if we look at invasive weeds and the plants that are growing all around us that we don't want in our like beautiful manicured lawns or whatever, we might actually notice that perhaps these plants which have evolved, like our evolution is tied to plants. We might look at these plants as almost like friends, you know, as support system for our physical well-being as well as our emotional well-being. So I thought it was just like a really important time to talk about wild foods, and particularly mugwort, because it's so pervasive and it seems so relevant for right now. So anyway, I'm staying right now with my mother in suburban Wilmington, Delaware. So I'm not at the co-op. I really, really miss the co-op. And I'm looking for like that same kind of energy in the food, but it's very hard to find because conventional food is grown in very poor soil and it doesn't have this sort of like nutrient density that the organic food that we normally have has. So like, I'm sort of just looking around, trying to very much connect to nature, even though this is very suburban. There's still lots of plants growing and lots of plants like wanting us to pay attention to their presence because they're really very, very helpful to us. So I'm super excited about talking about introducing you to mugwort. You might have heard about it before. It's been used for thousands and thousands of years, and it's used in almost every culture, and particularly it's used in Asian culture as it's usually mixed with rice in a sweet application. But back in the day, like in Europe, the word wort, which means plant, it's got a German, like Old English roots. Mugwort was really used in the brewing of beer. So it's used in the fermentation process as well. But anyway, I thought, so what was I gonna say about it? So yeah, if I don't complete a sentence and if you feel confused by something, please reach out and send Jeff a question in the chat. And he's gonna kind of filter the questions for me to answer or to clarify. But how the class is going to be run is that I have some very, very simple recipes using the mugwort. So we're going to talk about its medicinal uses or its properties or aspects of this beautiful, gentle lady over here. And then I'll illustrate a recipe. We'll go switch back and forth into that kind of framework. And then at the end, on the sunnier day of last week, I harvested some mugwort so that you could be able to see what it looks like in situations, where it grows, where it has a propensity to grow. For right now, I'll show you the few pieces of mugwort that I have, which is in different various stages. So the plant itself grows full size to be about 3 to 6 feet tall. And It's very gentle and soft. Here's some that I recently picked, and it's just slightly wilting. I picked it this afternoon. Here it is in its baby incarnation. And sometimes we use, this might be the time when you use it as an edible green, only when it's like little babies like this. You don't have to worry about picking too much because it's so prolific, okay? This is the dried version at a slightly taller stage, picked from the root up. So right here, it's about 8 to 10 inches long. I just gathered it and I let it dry. I'm gonna use that for one of the recipes. So in its various stages, you're gonna see its application. Ooh, it looks like a jungle. And then I have some dried mugwort leaves. So last year I harvested some mugwort from a friend's farm. So it was very fresh from upstate New York. Then I hung it up, let it dry. And once it was dried, I stripped the stem of these leaves and then it turns into this. Okay. And then here we go. This is in this vase here. Look at this bouquet. Is the mugwort, freshly picked. This is about, I don't know, 3 feet. It's got these long roots, and each one of these little shoots, this is how it grows, will turn into another plant if we let it, if it has enough of the nutrients to keep growing. So it grows really well in disturbed soil, meaning soil that's like not so perfect, in between rocks, because its root systems go underneath things and then pop up again. So it's quite amazing. Anyway, it has a very aromatic smell. Can you guys smell that? Yeah, it's awesome. And it's in the, it comes from the daisy family. The daisy family has plants like chrysanthemum. It has another plant called herb called wormwood. So wormwood is the base ingredient for absinthe, which is basically a hallucinogenic liquor. Anyway, so this gentle beauty is so stunning and so helpful, and you can use it like most herbs. They don't have like just one function. They have multi-purpose functionality. So you could think of it as like a New Yorker, you know, somebody like something that has many different jobs. So I'm going to sort of try to go through all of its functions, all of its aspects, and sort of weave through it, how you can use it, how different aspects of it feed the other aspect. And so we'll start with just a very simple application of mugwort. So if you have stomach issues, or maybe irritable bowel syndrome, even some kind of candida, mugwort is an anti-inflammatory. So you can use it as a digestive tea. And here's how I am going to use it. So I have a lot growing out on this landscape part of the house. It's just growing. I've weeded it so many times and it's still like going so strong. It's kind of crazy. Here, you guys are gonna have to forgive me. I'm gonna like move the camera around here and there. Here I have a little mug. You can use a pot of tea or like a pot, and then you can, or a teapot rather, and then you just wanna smash the leaves a little bit. Throw it in the mug or a teapot. Obviously, the more water you're gonna use, you wanna use a bigger amount of mugwort, and just pour hot water on it.
Uni, we're getting a question. Does mugwort flower?
Yes, it does flower. It has these small, inconspicuous flowers. They're not showy, but then when you really look at it, they're so stunning and beautiful. In the bit.ly that that you found this information on, there's going to be a slideshow with some botanical drawings of the flower. They're kind of yellow, sort of a muted yellow salmon color. And they're very small and they grow in kind of long rows. And they start to flower in late summer, early fall. Okay, so we're gonna make, this is a tea for digestive ailments. And because it also has antifungal properties, you can use it to treat candida. Well, what else? It's been used for treating diarrhea, dysentery. It has a calming overall effect on your muscles. And it's sort of if you're feeling kind of nauseous, it'll help you not vomit. What else? It's just great for your gut health. So it's a calmative digestive tea. And I can just drink it like this after it sits here for about 5 minutes. If you're worried about getting this, that's why I just kind of pick it as a big bundle and kind of smash it and make it as a tea. If I was going to make the tea with the dried leaves, I take a few of these and then put them and then steep them in hot water. You're going to get a slightly different colored tea. It's going to look more brown, but that's the difference between using a fresh herb and a dried herb. You guys all know about that already because sometimes you have fresh parsley, but then the dried version just looks a little bit more brown. Okay, all right. I need to ask my assistant for some help. Hold on one second. So maybe can you put the water in?
Everyone, while she's off screen, you can put questions in the chat window and I'll make sure they get teed up for Uni.
Yeah, okay. So we mentioned its anti-inflammatory properties. So it is calming on the nervous system, calming for your muscles. And so you can also use it as an expectorant and a decongestant. So in the sage family, because mugwort comes from like the sage family, and it has these kind of compounds in it. They're camphor-like. They're related there's one called eucalyptol in mugwort. Isn't this so exciting? And you can find this for free. It's in Prospect Park too. And it opens up and soothes the respiratory tract. So in this application, I'm just gonna take a bowl, right? And I'm gonna take a healthy amount, a generous amount of mugwort, because I said it's so prolific, you can find so much of it. And here, you can just put it in a bowl. Thank you so much. And then you wanna pour some hot water over the whole thing. Okay, so when we talk about cooking as a process and medicine as a process, or like what we use for medicine, I actually think they're very much the same thing. So this is just a very, very strong tea of mugwort that we're going to use to inhale and soothe our bronchial system. It's good for the lungs. It's good for the respiratory tract. And what you would just do is take this like any kind of steam inhalation thing, make the mugwort, make sure it's not too hot. And as the steam is rising, you're going to put yourself and your face over the mugwort and take some deep breaths. Right? I could have explained that to you, but I like to do the pantomiming thing. Okay. So these active oils are also antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. I don't know. I just feel so amazed by the fact that this is available to us all the time. And so anyway, in the third application of the mugwort is that you can use it as a sitz bath. So a sitz bath is when you put your the lower part of your body into kind of a tub with a basic strong mugwort tea. One of the things I'm really missing a lot about being quarantined is that I really love going to spa, and my favorite spa in Los Angeles is a Korean spa called Olympic Spa, and they have one of their pools filled with mugwort. It's just one of the most soothing experiences that I've ever had. Liquid is kind of brown, and you just you just feel like a little tea bag in there, and you just get, what it does is it helps increase your circulation, it detoxifies your body. It's particularly good for women's reproductive system if you're not trying to get pregnant, or if you think you're going to be, if you're pregnant, trying to get pregnant, this is not the herb for you. But if you have like a lot of cramping, or your flow is very scanty or kind of dense, what the mugwort does is kind of relax those muscles. It actually helps stimulate the muscles in your uterus to contract. So actually, probably like in the old witchy ways, it was used as like a way to purge your period if it was too late or something like that. They actually even use it. It's a priority herb for midwives. So that the function of it increasing your circulation, you can use it all in your body through your skin, right? And so this can basically become a sitz bath when the water isn't so hot. When you've strained the mugwort out. I saw on Amazon actually that they're selling like some sort of special tub that you put mugwort powder in, and then you get to sit in it. For both men and women, it can help treat hemorrhoids. It is it has this compound called thuzone, so it's antiseptic. You can do a steam with this for the lower reproductive area. It actually heals the lower parts of your body if you've had like a tear during childbirth. So incredible, right? It just has so many functions and so much capacity. So it is. And then the last medicinal use of mugwort, not the last medicinal use, but the other time you might have heard of mugwort is in the compound called moxa. So moxa is something that you use when you're getting acupuncture, and sometimes they burn a little moxa at the end. It's supposed to help draw out impurities. It helps increase circulation. It helps move energy out. So you take these leaves, you dry them. The leaves are kind of slightly soft and fuzzy, and they just go up to, when you put them together and when they're dried, they fluff up into a little ball, and you burn them at the end of a acupuncture needle. That's moxibustion. So if you're trying to get a feel of, or kind of a olfactory experience of the mugwort, and if you've had acupuncture, that is the smell that you're smelling is mugwort. Okay? All right.
You need one question.
Sure.
Does the tea made from the greener leaf have any health advantages over that made from the dry leaf?
I don't think so. I think it's just that it grows for the summer season. So it starts to grow in the early spring and finishes kind of in the late summer. So the only thing is that personally, I find this more refreshing in the green application. I don't know if you can see it because this is the tea from the greens and it looks green. Let me see if I can pour some of this off and see if we can get a color difference. I mean, it still looks pretty green to me. Yeah, it looks pretty green.
Oh.
Yeah, but no, it's just that, you know, whenever you dry herbs, it's a little bit more concentrated actually because all the compounds in it are kind of more condensed. Where I just saw a question pop up about where's the Mugwort patch in Prospect Park. I don't know. I haven't like ID'd it, but I know that there's kind of websites about finding wild foods. And once in a while, people will post something. If you start looking for Instagram accounts where they deal with looking for wild food or foraging, they might put you on to what part of the park it is. But one of our assistants from the squad read my post about the mugwort, and she had ridden by once. I think she lives in Kensington, so it's in there always. And you'll notice because it kind of like, they're tall. They should be about here right now, you know, about 2 or 3 feet tall already, and you'll see it. And when you watch the Plant ID video, you kind of notice it. This sounds a little bit silly and maybe a little bit hippie, but we do belong to the food co-op. I think you should ask the plant, like you should try to invoke the plant into your life if you're really interested in it. It will speak to you and it will show you where it is. I don't know how to explain it. That's my relationship with plants, and I'm actually even sad that it's taken me so long to be so appreciative of these supportive friends of ours, right? So let me take a sip of this tea so you know that I am going to be okay after I drink it. Oh, so yes, a digestive tea. It's calming. So maybe not, if you're used to having coffee in the morning, maybe not drink it in the morning, but I find that I'd rather have this kind of, I would rather put these sort of things in my body because they really help me feel connected. Like sometimes, you know, when you wake up in the morning and if you feel discombobulated and, you know, you got a lot of things going on in your mind and you're trying to do one thing versus the other. I do feel that having herbal teas can kind of ground you and bring you down to earth. I read in a couple of places in my research that you should, if you're gonna drink the tea, you should drink it like 1 week on, 1 week off. That's because there are other compounds in the mugwort that are gonna affect you psychically, and we're gonna go into that in a little bit. But here we go. We're still on our journey. So we're like cycling through Prospect Park. You find some mugwort. You're gonna pull some. You're gonna ask the plant to, you know, if it's okay. It's so okay. They're so prolific. They will never go away. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna make a dish. This is the cooking portion of it, and I hope it's kind of interesting for you guys because not having the smells while we're doing the cooking, I don't know how well it's gonna work. And I'm going to use this burner right here. Is that working for everyone? Okay, so, Masai, do you want to help me? Do you want to? Sure. Okay. And if you guys are watching at home, I can't see what you're doing, but if you want to move around, I originally got into cooking because I need to use my body. Oh, we can see each other. You guys can see each other? Okay. So I call this silver moon quinoa. Sure. And I called it that because
Just keep talking.
The underside of the mugwort is sort of silver, right? And we're going to take about a cup of quinoa. This is actually about 3/4 cup of quinoa. And the way that I cook quinoa is that I don't wash it first, but instead I roast it first. So I'm not sure how well this burner is going to work. It'll probably be a little slow, but all you really want to do is move the quinoa around so it starts to toast. And what you're looking for is the color to change slightly into a kind of a tan color, like it's been out in the sun for a little bit, for a couple hours, midday. And then you're also going to start listening for a popping sound. So it's going to start really gently, like kind of a soft rainfall, and then it's going to sort of start to sound like popcorn. And then you're going to mix this around. As this is heating up, I'm not going to do that. All right, we need to practice this part of the video. Okay, what you need for this recipe is double the amount of water to the quinoa. So the ratio of cooking this grain is 1 to 2. So 1 part grain, 2 parts liquid. And about 1 cup of quinoa is going to give you about 3 to 4 servings for your family. Now, we all know the health benefits of quinoa, I'm assuming, but it's very high in amino acids, so it's almost a complete protein. And what I'm doing with the mugwort is really just adding kind of a medicinal, nutritional boost to the quinoa. You can hear the sounds already. Now, like most green herbs, and especially wild foods, have a lot of iron in it. So it's kind of a way to, I don't know. I don't think there's any nutritional facts on this, but it's just my feeling that there is something about using what we have around us to enhance all the things that we can get out of our eating experience. Okay. Now it's hot. Okay. I hope you guys can hear this. And it's a little bit sad that you can't smell it, but there's a roasted, fragrant smell, kind of a warming, soothing smell that's coming from the pot. Okay. You want to roast this because it prevents us from having to cook it. Or clean it first. Awesome. Jeff, were you going to say something? Is there a question?
You could put the phone up to the pot so maybe we can hear it.
Oh.
But you can also see that it's kind of jumping a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a party. It's popping. Sorry, guys. I make kind of stupid jokes here and there.
We love it.
As this is happening, I just want to warn you too that once in a while I'm around food, I can be a little bit lewd because, I don't know, I worked in kitchens for so long and it was the only way to kind of keep ourselves entertained. Right? All right, so you see the quinoa is popping, it's cooking a little bit. Please feel free to use a spatula or whatever you might need to facilitate this. What's the smell right now, Masai? Like popcorn, a little bit?
I don't know. It smells like chicken to me, but I feel like that's really all.
My daughter's saying it smells like chicken. Okay, so you want to be careful when you do this, but can you follow me here? But you want to put the water on in here, but it's going to pop a little bit, and it might be a little bit violent. So do it kind of slowly and gently, and don't let your kids try this. So 1 part water, 2 parts water, okay? And you want to bring this to a boil, to a rolling boil with the lid off. And this will take a few minutes, I'm sure. So we'll watch this. We'll come back to this when it's almost done. Ready for the lid, okay? How we're going to use the mugwort is we're going to take more of the mugwort. Let's say I grab a handful to kind of act as a secondary lid for the steaming process of the quinoa. I got this idea because my mother said that back in the day, they used to use mugwort on top of the rice that was cooking. In Korean, mugwort is called suk, and also it's one of the few applications where they really use a lot of the leaves to consume a lot of the leaves. I'm using this more as like an infusion rather than like a vegetable, but the suk is really helpful in giving it an aromatic quality and sort of a nutritional boost. Oh, the water's starting to boil already. So it's going into a rolling boil. And what we want to do is we want to cover the quinoa and let it turn down the heat to low, like a medium low. And let it cook for about another 10 minutes, okay? Once the water is absorbed, we're gonna lay this on top so that the rest of the steam pulls the nutrients and the medicinal compounds from the mugwort and imbues it into the quinoa. So that's how we're using the mugwort in the quinoa dish. And you won't taste it strongly, but it might be really good accompanying rice or meats or fish. No, I said rice, sorry. Fish and meat dishes. So yes. The other reference to it being a silver moon, we equate the moon with feminine energy. So we talked about its function as menstrual support. So again, I was talking about how midwives had used it as a priority herb. So if you were birthing and you were having a hard labor, for instance, they would tie a whole bundle of mugwort along your thigh to move the labor along, but then they would remove it because has such a strong effect. They didn't want you to, say, hemorrhage. If you're also having trouble with the afterbirth, they would use that to kind of move it along. So again, I'm talking about the energy of the plant. There are active chemical compounds in it, but this was all understood by people before there was ways to dissect or kind of measure those things. It was known and understood. Do you want that? Okay, what else? So moving on from that part of the mugwort is also, I believe, an immune support herb. So I mentioned its antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal effects or properties, and sorry, I just have to get down with myself again. So what I thought I would show you was a way to kind of up the ante with the immune system. I've been drinking this pretty much since I moved down here as a way to feel supported, as a way to help my immune system. I've also been doing a lot of exercise that require breath work that also helps my lymph nodes stay really strong, pushes all that kind of my blood through it, because you know your lymph system, unlike your circulation system, doesn't have its own like pumping machine, so you have to be active in order to activate your immune system. So we're going to make a garlic bread with the mugwort, And this is when we're going to use the herb fresh, right? So I just have some butter here that's sort of melty. Okay. You don't have to do it this way. You could just spread a little bit of butter on the mugwort, on the bread, and then chop some mugwort into it. But now I've got the addition of the garlic as well. So in terms of taste profile, mugwort's supposed to taste very much like, a lot of different herbs, like a super herb, parsley, dill, but I really think that it tastes most like sage. It feels very akin to rosemary to me. So what I did was put the butter at room temperature. Now I'm gonna chop some of this mugwort into the butter. And this is also when I would use the herb fresh. It's just kind of the luck of the draw that I have it around me. But as I said, you can find it almost everywhere. You can also find it by riverbeds. We made croutons with this the other day, and it was super delicious. Now I have some garlic. I'm going to chop that in. So during my research, I wonder if this knife looks scary on camera. That way.
Someone said the knife sounds are really nice.
Oh yeah? Oh, I should do drumming with knife sounds. Okay. The last thing I would add is maybe a little bit more salt, since you're going to put it on bread. Right? And again, you could just put everything straight onto a piece of bread, or chop up the mugwort, add some oil to some old bread, make it some croutons. So you're basically making a super herby garlic butter that you can use for applications. You can also use this to cook fish, any kind of meat, any kind of vegetables. I think it would be super delicious on mushrooms too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't look the prettiest, but you'll forgive me. And then I have a piece of crusty bread. No, it's not bread alone, and it's not one of our favorite bakery breads, but here we go. I hope that for people who have a lot of cooking skills, I just felt like it was really important for you to see the application of the mugwort, because I know you know how to cook some of these things already, but it's just nice to see someone using it in situ. And then you're going to spread some on the bread. I was thinking the other day, like, who does not like garlic bread? I feel like garlic bread is like one of the best inventions ever. Okay. Oh, right. So we were talking about this as immune support. Anyway, I discovered this amazing herbalist called the Herbal Jedi, as in like Jedi warrior, like Star Wars. And he taught me so much about mugwort. He has great videos. I highly recommend that you get a lot of information from him. And he says a lot of his perspective is very similar to mine, in that he really is encouraging us to use our connection to plant as a way to inform us about what and why we're here almost. And so you should definitely check them out. But just in general, aside from the immune support, because it's a relaxing herb, it can calm your nervous system down, which is, I think, just another important aspect of supporting your immune system, is to try not to be too worried and anxious. We've made it through so many different kind of experiences in our evolution as human beings, and we're going to get through this as well, and we'll be okay. And that it's just really important to try to keep that in mind and surround yourself with the things that help you feel that. So Jess, are you ready to kind of load that video? I have a video of me harvesting the mugwort, and it's a sunny day, so maybe you can enjoy the sunshine from the video. It might repeat a lot of the information I've already said. It might even contradict it. So if it does, make sure you ask me to clarify what's going on. And then as we're doing that, we'll finish up these dishes, and I'll see you in about 8 minutes, okay? Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. My name is Uni Lee, and I am a culinary instructor, chef, a multidisciplinary artist, a homesteader at heart, a lover of trees, and once in a while the plants speak to me. So I'm here to talk to you about one of my favorite plants called mugwort. Now, I just wanted to make sure you guys know that anything that I introduce you to is for inspiration and for further investigation, and doesn't constitute medical advice. But because I have such a strong belief system in the power of plant, you might feel that what I'm saying is going to resonate with you or is important to you. And just so that you know that if you decide to taste it fresh, it's not going to harm you, but just to be mindful of how you use it and in what quantities you take. Okay, so I'm in suburban Delaware right now, kind of migrated out of New York City for the moment, and although it might appear that there's just a bunch of manicured grass and in fact there's a lot of treasures hidden among the ground. So I wanted to talk about one of my favorite herbs called mugwort. Its official Latin name is Artemisia vulgaris, and Artemisia vulgaris really does refer to the Greek goddess of agriculture, and in Chinese folklore, the goddess of life and death is wearing a shield of mugwort. She's actually robed in mugwort. So this is, for thousands and thousands of years we've been using this plant. This plant has been evolving along with us. So in its evolution, it's also developed a lot of compounds that keep it healthy. Some of the compounds are actually antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral. Virus, I said viral. Yes, it's gonna help you during this time if you learn how to use it wisely. So among some of these other plants that we have here, for instance, the mustard, these sword-like beauties are going to become lilies, of which you can eat the flowers. There's some mugwort growing on the ground as well, and I want to show you how to really be able to find them with some measure of confidence. So let's go past this Japanese maple as we go around to the side of the house to learn how to ID the plant. Say hello, where are you? What do you look like? What do you smell like? How do you even feel? Okay, IDing the mugwort. It's a perennial plant, so even if I pick some of this now, even all of this now, it's going to grow back next year. It's very prolific, and it grows almost everywhere in the world. It has these dark green leaves. They're deeply lobed, so they're very striated and kind of like sword-like. The leaves itself are alternating on the stem. So here's one stem, here's another stem, or another leaf rather. And then, since I mentioned the stem, sometimes it has a reddish or purplish tint to it. Its most distinctive feature is the underside of the mugwort. So let's go upside down. Yes, the silvery hue of the mugwort is a really important distinguishing feature of the plant. So mugwort is related to daisy in the daisy family. It's related to chrysanthemums, and its closest kin is an herb called wormwood. I don't know if you've heard of wormwood, but they still distill wormwood to make the alcohol called absinthe. And absinthe is a hallucinogen. So just be mindful, there is some active, strong compounds in this plant. We're gonna take this opportunity to kind of look at the base of it. It has a very strong root system that grows out of these crackly rocks. These are kind of young plants. They've been growing for about a month and change now, but in another 2 months or so, they're going to be tall, about 5 feet tall, and that's usually when the harvesting happens. In some Asian cultures, you might go to the ocean or to the river or something like that and pick very, very young leaves. I don't know. The camera person is laughing right now, and I'm not sure what to do. Anyway,
Keep going.
we are going to pull one so you can look at it. And as I do this, it's releasing a potpourri of aromatic smells. It smells a lot like anise. I think it smells mostly like sage. And in its application, you would use it anywhere where there's like a very strong herb overnote. Okay, here in among these rocks, if I pull close to the root, I might even pull out some of the root. There you go. And the root and the stem can be used separately to make teas and such. Okay, let's pull another one. If you want the mugwort to keep on coming back, you don't, oh, here's a great root. If you want the mugwort to keep coming back, you would pull it more from the top as it gets older. And the best time to pick mugwort, to dry it for teas, and to make smudge sticks out of it, yes, you can make your own smudge sticks, is when they are taller and they start to flower. And when they flower, they have this very inconspicuous flowers. So the flowers are quite small and they grow in a long row. You won't notice it until you really slow down and look at it. So I'm so excited to talk to you more about the various properties of mugwort, how that it might help you in your ailments, how it might give you a sense of protection actually during this time when everything out there seems bad for you, and you can, moreover, using it as a flavoring in food is a remarkable it's a remarkable way to use the herb, because it's like beyond organic. It's actually wild and free, and it's free in terms of monetary costs and the ways that it grows. So I'm going to show you just one other little bit of the mugwort, and here's the babies. And in Korean culture and Japanese culture and some Asian cultures, they use these small ones for making cakes and grinding down to color mochi into a green color that has an aromatic herby quality to it. So, are you guys ready? Let's go! We're back. Are we back? Yes, we are back. So I hope you understood how to find mugwort. Wormwood doesn't grow so much, but they have white flowers, I believe, and they don't have that silver back. So if you don't want to like totally loop out, that's how you would distinguish the two, but they're very close brothers and sisters to each other. Okay, so another.
There are some questions during the video.
Okay, cool.
One is, do you want to
answer them?
Okay. Why would you use the root separately?
Well, I think that all plants, I don't have that much information about the roots, but the root, oh, here's a really great, look how deep the roots are. This one I picked out, and it was actually, they're connected. Like every plant has different properties between the stem, the leaves, the tops, the root. So like, even if you look at a carrot, its leaves have different kind of qualities and aspects, and it has a physical difference, and it has different compounds on it. The skins have different, stronger compounds on it. So the root itself, I think, my guess is that it's better for those digestive issues. It's a stronger part of the plant itself, right? It doesn't also have chlorophyll in it like this does. So sometimes they separate the root and the leaf. So, you know, like dandelion root is different than the leaf itself. It's more of a vegetable. Roots tend to be very they tend to be super, super medicinal, and they're very grounding. So if you're feeling a little bit disconnected, discombobulated, I do think that taking the roots will be good, but most roots also tend to be bitter, and mugwort itself has a bitter, astringent quality to it. Okay. What other questions are there? Is that helpful?
One more question is, are the flowers edible?
The flowers are not more edible than, I wouldn't like eat it as a flower. You know, some wild plants, you just eat mostly the flower. There's one called jewelweed. It has a blue flower where you eat it. You eat the flower, and it's like, tastes a little bit like a fresh legume, like a fresh pea. But these are too small. It wouldn't hurt you if it went into the tea, for instance, but I wouldn't eat it separately. And I didn't see any literature about eating the flower by itself. Mas?
Nope.
Anything? Okay, excellent. All right, so like we were talking about how it has these compounds, eucalyptal, is that how you pronounce it? Camphor-like oils, thuzones, they're all kind of components of also insect repellents or insecticides, right? So in this application of using mugwort, we're going to make kind of a smudge stick, but sometimes we talked about how it grows in rocky soils. It doesn't need a lot of water, but it tends to grow a lot around river beds or creeks. So if I ever end up in like by the water and the sun's about to go down, which is the time when mosquitoes come out, I might just whip myself with it to get these like the compounds sort of like generally around my body, around my aura. And actually people used to travel with mugwort like tied around them as a belt. Could you imagine going on a flight right now with this wrapped around you? It was said to protect against evil spirits, but I think and the reason that they thought that was because it actually protects against bugs. If you put mugwort, like you make a tincture, not a tincture per se, but if extract the oils from it, mix it with a little bit of geranium, cedar, lemon balm, tea tree, eucalyptus, peppermint. All of those are herbs that protect against insects or act as natural insecticides. This is an application for that, but we're gonna make it as a smudge stick right now. And the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna grab a few stems together. This is like 3 or 4 stems. The stems have gotten pretty thick, and you let it wilt a little bit for a day or 2, right? So that it's still super pliable. And then you take a piece of kitchen twine and wrap it up, tie it up to one end, and then you wrap the string around the leaves and the stem tightly. Doesn't this look like fun, guys? It's so much fun. There's smells, there's a feeling like I'm doing something important for myself. You can even collect this and give it away as gifts instead of buying stuff. You can mix it with sage, and actually the best application of this is when it's taller and the flowers are coming up. You cut like the first 2 or 3 feet off, and then let it wilt for a day, and you can make it into a smudge sticks. So it is something that is also used for divination. So to invoke spirits, to repel evil spirits, for instance. You tie this up like that. I think there's even some folklore of like how you wrap the twine around the mug, whatever you're tying up. So you'll notice it. If you do happen to go to the co-op and you see one of those smudge sticks, you might see mugwort in the mix, and you might see some of it flowered like that, right? So this is a smudge stick, and you can hang it up in a well-ventilated place and let it really fully dry. Okay, what else was I saying about that? Okay, now we talked about this kind of ethereal. Oh, before I go on to that, I just want to finish the recipes. Okay, here's the garlic bread. Looks yummy, right? It's pretty toasted. And here's the mugwort. Nobody would know that it's not parsley. But actually it's like stronger than parsley, right? I mean, in terms of like chemical compounds, it's wild and free. And you know, if you run out of herbs, like you don't have to go crazy. You can just go there. I would do the mud shot and take a bite, but then I won't be able to talk. And then here's the other thing, which is the quinoa. The quinoa is now, the water is absorbed, and I let the rest of the steam up the leaves, right? And now I can just pull these off and have a very nutritionally dense grain dish. Incredible. The recipes are on that bit.ly link, I believe. And they're all on kind of a sheet. You can find recipes from all the classes that we've organized, and all the material from all the classes are pretty incredible, if I do say so myself, but you know, that's just a point of view. I think it's, for me, I learned by seeing, so seeing the recipe is really, really helpful to me. But if you need a hard copy of it, it's just basically a quinoa recipe where the last part of the steam, after the water's been boiled, you add some leaves, a handful of leaves of the mugwort, and then you have this very active grain that you can use. I also, going back to that, I actually made a rice with the mugwort too. And this is this is white rice, but in it I put a black bean, a dookie bean, and mung bean. And those three beans are, besides just increasing the amino acid content of this dish to make it a complete protein in combination with each other. I happened to be watching, before the pandemic happened, I happened to be watching a Korean drama, a Netflix drama. And in the show, which was kind of a historical fiction, there was a smallpox epidemic, right? So our relationship to disease is thousands of years old. We have had this experience in our life. And for some reason, when I saw this show, I was slightly aware of COVID somewhere in the back of my consciousness. And I just really thought to myself, we've had this experience before in our bodies, in our DNA. This is something that we're conditioned for, you know. It brings up a lot of fear and it brings up a lot of uncertainties, but we've evolved through these, and we will continue to evolve through that. And in the show, what they were doing was gathering beans and grains together in order to help build their immunity. So this is not like a recipe you'll find anywhere. This is just my intuitive guess from having worked with food for over 20 years and my consciousness that lets me absorb information that's coming from all around me. So this dish I wrote down as a recipe. I can't make any claims to it, but in the show they were collecting black beans, aduki beans, and mung beans to cook together into kind of a gruel to have to fortify themselves. Now, aside from the fact that legumes are really amazing because they fix nitrogen in the soil, so they're just really great to grow. I mean, we need to eat beans if we're going to sustain ourselves on this small planet. But it's my guess that this is a fortifying, immune boosting way to eat grains and beans and get your protein without having to eat meat. That's just my guess. And it sounds a little bit silly, like I got this recipe from Netflix, but guess what? This combination of beans is actually used a lot in Chinese medicine. So there you go. And it tastes great and I feel good eating it. So why not? You know, that's all I'm saying. But that's my 3 bean and rice dish. Okay, and but you can use it on the quinoa and you can use it on other grains too. What else was I gonna say? Okay, so this is the last part, and this is the part where everybody's gonna be like, oh my gosh, Uni has been drinking too much of that mugwort. Okay, so the other well-known use of mugwort is in divination and in what I'll call quote unquote magic, okay? So when we could burn this smudge stick, but what is very well known to do, actually I call the first recipe a digestive dream tea, is that it's supposed to promote your lucid dreaming. So I've heard from many people that their dreams are kind of a little bit crazy these days. And sure, you're alone, you don't have too many distractions, you're kind of with yourself and you're in your own psychic space. So I found this from a Russian, like, I guess she's a herbalist, witch type of person. And so I'm just gonna read it to you and then we'll talk about it a little bit. Referred to Russians as zabitko, which means forgetful, mugwort's strong camphor-like oils, when inhaled, open up chambers of ancient memory within the brain, bringing one's dream life stirring visions of past and future that overflow with magical imagery. The symbols which dance through our mugwort touch dreams, pull out the cobweb of our forgetfulness and assist us in remembering old unwritten ways of healing and living that attend to the needs of the spirit and soul. This is by Judith Berger and in a book called Earth Rituals. So I was really thinking about this because I felt a little bit of confusion, like it's supposed to be forgetful or it's supposed to wake up our consciousness. And I was thinking that another website said it brings out your wild side. So I was thinking about what does it mean to access our wild side? I mean, we spent so much of our life trying to control ourselves and like work within this structure. What does it mean to get to our wild side? And as I was making that video that you just watched, there's a little garden snake that lives around here. There's one or two or three, I can't really tell. But anyway, once in a while it pops out. And when I was picking some of the mugwort, the snake came up. And I'm telling you, I did, you know, it's a little garden snake. It's about yay big, but it's a snake. And I will tell you that I screamed from the deepest part of my body, like the deepest part of my soul. It was so instinctual. It was so dramatic. Like I couldn't even try to access that scream if I was conscious about it. It was just a guttural, instinctual reaction, intuitive in every sense of the word. Now, when I think about our wild side, I'm really thinking about that part of our wild side. I think that happens sometimes when we see mice. I've seen grown men like jump on tables when they see a mouse. And it's like, it's just this thing, you know, that's living inside us that that like comes out from something so like deeply ingrained in us. I know that I'm bigger than the snake, and I'm 99% sure that this snake is not harmful to me, but there's just something that we know in our body that we respond to that gives us like this boost of energy and makes us react and respond. And yeah, primal, thank you. You guys are helping me so much. So when I talk about this, I do feel that this is a really important time for us to access that level of information that's residing in our psyche. So, and why is that? Because we've been kind of conditioned for so long into thinking that, I don't know, that this is the way that things should be, that like the penultimate is going to Whole Foods is a way to take care of yourself. I just feel like there's so many different ways for us to access our own healing potential. The thing that's living inside us that we have forgotten, that we forgot that like you could kind of just look at a plant, like smell it, kind of maybe even taste it to see if it might work for you. And maybe you don't even have to look through these you know, we don't even have to seek the information. It's something that's living inside us. So that is what I'm calling like access to our wild side. And with Mugwort itself, it is supposed to help you in your dream state. So lucid dreaming is when you have vivid, clear dreams. And sometimes you have this feeling that you know that you're dreaming and that you, oh, can you guys even see me? Yeah. That you know that you're dreaming and that you can help shape the outcome of your dreams, even as a form of resolution and kind of closure or closing grievances or accessing deep emotions that you might feel afraid to access in your waking life. So even a few leaves of mugwort tucked underneath your pillow is supposed to help activate this aspect of you. So this tea, which we started out with, which is very good for your digestive system, is also good for your dreaming state. So it's something that you would normally have later in the day or before you go going to rest. And so if you decide to use it, that is possibly a way to use it. Some herbalists even put some mugwort in smoke mixes. If you think about all the qualities of mugwort, that it's kind of a muscle relaxant, it is an analgesic, so it's like a painkiller. It helps you with your dreams in this kind of psychic space. I would even say that this might be the original CBD, but who knows? If you want to wait in the co-op for 2 hours and can't get access to that case of the CBD oils, it might be fun to investigate trying mugwort out. But who knows? I don't know much, but I'm trying to learn. Okay, so anyway, that's the end of my talk, I believe. Do you have any more questions?
I don't. I think the main question people have been having is where to find this video later. And so the link is, Jeff and I have both sent it out, but it's
okay.
bit.ly/the co-op cooking class. It is not on the co-op's website. It's on our website. So please bookmark it, check it out. And a video will be up there. There are a bunch of different tabs, and there's a tab for recipes. And so the recipes for this class and the classes over the last 2 years are all on that site.
Okay. Yeah, and I actually put my Venmo information in there. Usually for the co-op, we do this as a volunteer for a work shift. And this is something that I've generated on my own. And if you would like, I mean, the class, usually the cost of the class is $5. If you feel like you want to support me, that's cool. My Venmo address, which is @Co-op Kitchen, is on the recipes itself. It just helps me understand that this would help me understand if this is the type of content that you would like to have more of, because, you know, as we go through the summer, there's more stuff going out there, more stuff that's there to help you. So check it out. Don't feel obliged, of course, but if that's something that you feel moved to do, that'd be awesome. And lastly, I would like to close this class with kind of like a ritual. So I did a performance a few weeks ago, and the host of the performance invited everybody, because we're on Zoom, you know, we can't really see each other and we're not together. So you can act a little bit wild if you want to. And what I'm inviting people to do is to kind of, maybe we'll use this mugwort as a portal or gateway, is to sort of take your intention and your energy or your frustration or whatever, and just for the next 30 seconds, just start pouring it through this funnel, because, you know, plants are here to help us, and they really can absorb a lot. So whether you believe it or not, or whether you just want to scream or you want to laugh or do whatever, I just invite you to use what's around you to help release your anxieties, help you access your body, put yourself in your body, and have faith, and kind of know that your strength and our collective consciousness can really get us through a lot of the kind of pressurized feelings that we're having right now. So anyway, let's go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ah! Can you unmute everyone? Let's unmute everyone. Ah! Nice. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
All right.
Great.
Thank you.
And I think pretty soon we're gonna have like an Indian cooking class. So please stay in touch with us. We're really excited to reach out to our community and like have that feeling of connection with everyone. So thank you very much.
I was late. I had trouble signing on. Was that tea just the raw leaves?
Yes, it was.
In hot water? Just in hot water? That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. That was wonderful.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
is it co-op? Your Venmo, is it 2 words, co-op or Coop? I was trying to find
Is
it.
it COOP kitchen?
Okay,
KITCHEN.
okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
The link
I really appreciate it.
so people can put the
Thank
questions.
you. Oh, I found it.
Oh, finally, I didn't give a shout out to Jess and Jeff. Jeff Jang and Jeff Bonner is helped me with the technical aspects of this class, and they actually really pushed me to do this class, and I'm really, really grateful to them. I really feel like it was a collective energy that we pulled together to talk to you about something that's important and something that can even help like sort of shift the system that we're in. You know, we don't want to be so reliant on food coming from outside of where we're at. We want to be more localized, more grounded, you know, like I call the class Common Ground, because maybe you don't need to look so far into the, you know, the wherever we think we're supposed to get things from the external, you know, something so far away from us. We don't really need that. We have a lot of what we need, like living within us, living very close to us. Okay, guys, thank you so much.
Amy, can we have a bow from your daughter? The camera.
Oh, she kind of left, and she also,
Okay.
she's always just constantly listening to music, but she's a beautiful young woman, and I've been really grateful to her, because somehow through this process she's staying so uplifted and positive. And I'm not saying it's just because I feed her good food, but I think it helps her, gives her a good sense of grounding and a feeling of safety that is really important right now. Okay. Well done, guys.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to be with you. Thank you for having me.